In 2047, a distress signal is received from the Event Horizon, which is a starship that disappeared during its maiden voyage to Proxima Centauri 7 years earlier. The ship mysteriously reappears in orbit around Neptune, and the rescue vessel Lewis and Clark is dispatched to investigate. Its crew, Captain Miller, Second-in-Command Lieutenant Stark, Pilot Smith, Medical Technician Peters, Engineer Ensign Justin, Dr. DJ, and Rescue Technician Cooper, are all joined by Dr. William Weir, the Event Horizon's designer. He briefs them on the ship's experimental gravity drive with a simple visualization of how it folds space-time. The distress signal consists of a series of screams and howls, but DJ believes he hears the Latin phrase, "Liberate me, liberate me." Event Horizon, one of the most intriguing and powerful films that had so much of it cut out that we'll never know exactly how scary it truly was. Upon boarding the Event Horizon, the crew finds evidence of a massacre. As they search for survivors, the ship's gravity drive activates and briefly pulls Justin into a portal, while also causing a shockwave that damages the Lewis and Clark. The crew are forced to board the Event Horizon, while Justin emerges in a catatonic state. Smith and Cooper are then sent on a spacewalk to repair the hull of the Lewis and Clark. The crew begins experiencing hallucinations corresponding to their fears and regrets. Miller sees a subordinate he was forced to abandon to his death. Peters sees her son with his legs covered in bloody lesions. Weir sees an eyeless vision of his late wife urging him to join her. Justin attempts suicide by decompression, but he's saved by Miller. The crew places Justin in stasis. They discover a video log of the Event Horizon's crew fornicating and mutilating each other shortly after first engaging the gravity drive. The log ends with a shot of the Event Horizon's captain holding his own eyes gouged from their sockets and speaking the Latin phrase from the earlier distress call. DJ now translates the complete phrase as "Liberate tutte me ex inferis," save yourself from hell. Weir explains that the ship's drive opens a gateway to a hellish dimension, implied to be hell, outside the known universe, and that the Event Horizon has attained sentience. Miller decides to destroy it. He orders an evacuation while Peters is lured to her death by a hallucination of her son. Weir, who has gouged out his own eyes and is possessed by the evil presence, uses an explosive device to destroy the Lewis and Clark, which kills Smith and blasts Cooper into space. Weir kills DJ by vivisecting him and corners Stark on the bridge. Miller confronts Weir, who overpowers him and initiates a 10-minute countdown to activate the gravity drive and return to the other dimension. Cooper uses his spacesuit's oxygen supply to propel himself back to the ship and appears at the bridge window. Weir shoots at him, shattering the window, causing Weir to be blown into space by the decompression. Miller, Stark, and Cooper survive and manage to seal off the ship's bridge. With their own ship destroyed, Miller plans to split the Event Horizon in two with explosives and use its forward section as a lifeboat. He is attacked by hallucinations which turn out to be the resurrected and further mutilated Weir. Miller fights him off and detonates the explosives, sacrificing himself. The gravity drive activates, pulling the ship's stern section into a black hole. Stark and Cooper enter stasis beside a comatose Justin and wait to be rescued. 72 days later, the wreckage of the Event Horizon is boarded by a rescue party, who discover the survivors in stasis. Stark sees Weir posing as one of the rescuers and screams in terror, but she awakens and realizes that it was just a nightmare. Cooper and the rescue team try to calm the terrified Stark as the doors close. Now, when it comes to Event Horizon, directed by the one and only Paul Anderson, and starring Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill, you cannot get enough of this film when it comes to epic performances and downright psychological terror. Now, yes, the film was cut down because, and if you don't know this, now you will know this, but many people who watched the film in its earlier cut, in its very first cut, thought that it was too gruesome. Apparently, there was more than 20 minutes cut out of the film, and we will never be able to see that footage because the drive was eventually lost. So, unfortunately, we will never see what the original cut looked like. A lot of fans have even brought up the fact that this story relates very, very closely to the Warhammer 40k universe, talking about the warp. Now, you as a filmmaker, when you look at the film Event Horizon, you're looking at the lore that can be built from this. Now, I'm not so sure that they did this on purpose as far as connecting Warhammer 40k to the Event Horizon universe. However, it is something that you can get away with to an extent. Not naming things and kind of putting things in a certain light or going into a certain direction that could possibly, in some fantasy, be considered into the same kind of universe could be something that could be very useful for you in your filmmaking. However, it does need to be done very, very carefully because you don't want to steal anybody else's work and you don't want to get in trouble for any of those copyright infringements. When you have a lore-heavy story, you will have a film and you will have something that people really find intriguing and will hunt down the answers to their questions. When the film, it just explains everything and is just like, here, beginning, middle, end, that's all that there is. People watch the film and then they will move on from the film. There's no point in sticking around. But when you have a film that has that kind of same thing there, but there's also a history to it that isn't fully explained, there's a future that isn't told exactly where it's going to go, this gives people the ability to play detective, and that can be extremely useful in not only getting sequels and getting more jobs, which is definitely what you want as a filmmaker, but being able to tell more of that story, or being able to have people continue to talk about your story decades later after you've made it.